Alright, I'm going to show you guys how to use a T-post driver. This is a T-post driver. It's just a big metal pipe, and on this end of the pipe, there's a big, it's like a big weight or something. So you just slide the pipe on top of the T-post and let the weight slam down on it, and it drives it into the ground. It's a T-post driver. Okay, so the T-post itself, it may seem a little easier for you to see what a T-post looks like. So the reason why they call it a T-post is because it's shaped like a T. You can see on the end there. And see, it's got all these little knobby things going down the side. And I know a lot of folks have probably seen these things, but when I came out here from Dallas, I did not know how to use a T-post driver. And my cousin doesn't know either. So I thought, well, I looked all over YouTube, no videos. All right, so here is a spade on the end, and it kind of keeps, it's going to grab a hold of the grass and stuff. It's going to keep it from coming up out of the ground, like if your animals are lifting on the fence. So the concept is, I'm going to get this T-post driver up here. Now, first of all, you can see how the handles are kind of shaped where they're going in a little bit. So this is the side that's easiest to work on the T-post driver. So you work on this side right here. So when you slip it onto the T-post, it's pretty likely you're going to have the knobs on your side as well, because that's the side you're going to stretch your wire fencing on. So whenever you put the T-post driver onto the T-post, then the edge of it right here can catch on the little knobs. So when you slide it onto the top, it seems okay at first, and especially on a tall T-post, like a 7-foot T-post or something like that. So we had a guy that we worked with that had this happen to him, and I've always remembered it. Basically, the edge of the T-post driver, it caught on the little bump that sticks up on the T-post, and the T-post driver came over and knocked him in the head. Almost knocked him out, he said. So I've always remembered that. Well, you can see after years and years of use, this thing has just gotten worn out from those little knob things. So it's not so much an issue now for me, but when this thing was new, that did happen to me a couple of times, but it never got me like it did that guy at work. So if it's still sharp, like this one, a brand new T-post driver, you just need to be careful. Maybe you could grind it down or something. So you can get these things at Tractor Supply. Harbor Freight used to have them. The Harbor Freight ones I didn't like. The handles were all weird. This one I got at Tractor Supply, and I like it better. All right, so let me show you kind of how it works. And you're going to need to get some ear protection. So I'll show you that as well. So the first thing you want to do is get you some ear protection. So this is one square of toilet paper. You just split it in half. 1/2 for each ear. It works pretty good because that thing makes a lot of noise, that T-post driver. So now we take our T-posts, and you can see how tall it is to me here. So I got to put the T-post driver on top of this. So I just put it on like this here. Then I raise the post up like this. Now, let's go down here where we're going to drive it in. So you want the T-post driver to do all the work. You don't want to pull down like this. It's not going to help anything. You just lift it up and then let it slam down. And when you do, your gloves are going to kind of slide on it like this a little bit on the handles. But you're letting all the weight of this T-post driver to do the work. Okay? Let me slip this off of here. So the goal, so if this is a permanent setting, then you want to get the spade below the surface of the grass. But in this case, this is just a temporary. I'm just using it to work with. So if I put the spade all the way down under the grass, it's going to be hard to get out later. So I'm just going to put it down somewhere in here. So that's my goal when I'm driving the T-post. So put the T-post driver back up on top. So I got the little ribs towards me. That's why this thing can catch sometimes. So if it was the catch, it's going to come back on top of my head like this. And this T-post is not too bad, but I've had some really tall ones. I could barely reach this thing, and they've almost gotten me a couple times. So the ground here is pretty hard, as you can tell. So that's good enough for what we need to do. Let me show you what we did with the spade. So you see how the spade, see I didn't drive it all the way in? You got to watch out for this. If you come by this with your lawnmower, it'll poke out your tire. So you got to be careful. So this is my head height right here. This is how tall it is. I'm 6 feet tall, and this is a 6.5 foot T-post. This thing right here, this is the T-post puller. So the T-post puller has this head on it right here. This is the part that you hook on the T-post. Or sometimes you can wrap a chain around a T-post or a wooden post and use it to pull that as well. Then this is a big handle right here. It makes the head move up on that end up there. And this is the base down here. So let's pull this over here. So the way that you use this thing, so we need the handle to be on our side of the T-post. So we need to turn this around like this. So now you can see the way the base comes up to the T-post. If you get the base too close to the T-post, the spade is going to catch on the base. So you got to give a little bit of space there. Then when we hook this head on here, the head is going to, you can see that little notch where it's worn. It's going to connect onto the little knob, and that's what's going to pull it up when we use the handle. If not, we could use the hook with the chain. So you can use it on either side, on this side or on this side over here. And the inside of it has these little knobby things. So sometimes if you've got a round post or something like a rebar or something, it'll grab onto that, something that's kind of rough like that. So now, when I lift up the handle, you can see what happens up here at the top. The head is going to go down like that. So now I get this lined up on here. So see what we've got going on? It looks a little bit cattywampus, I know, but it actually works great. So now I can just push down on the handle back here on this end, and it will pull that T-post out of the ground. Okay, so when I pull, it works like this. See how it's pulling? So now the T-post is pulled up enough, I can get a hold of it with my hand. So I just let the pressure off of this thing and just move this thing out of the way, put it over to the side. Now I can grab the T-post and just pull it out of the ground. There it is. That's how far it was into the ground, about maybe a foot or something like that. So now I'm going to put it back in the ground because I'm going to use this as a temporary work spot. So I'm going to go get my T-post driver and some more ear protection, and we'll drive this one back in, and then I'll put one more over there. So I'll put this T-post puller up. I told my cousin you can save a lot of money at the gym. You just buy a T-post puller and a T-post driver, and at Tractor Supply you can get a 5-pack of T-posts. It's a good deal. You just drive them in and then pull them up and move them over, drive them in again. You don't even have to go to the gym. You do that for a few hours, I guarantee you won't even want to go to the gym. All right, we're going to drive this one back in. So I'll lean it over. Yeah, I've got it leaning over here. I put the T-post driver on here and put it back up where I want it and make sure it's straight. Then we start the driving. Here we go. Let me see if I can get us a second one going on here. I need 2 of them for our work. I need to do some work on this cattle panel. All right, let me grab the old gloves. So load it up. Go to where you want to drive it in. Holding my hands on the sides and letting them slide down. Give it a couple of good whacks to kind of get it started in there so it doesn't try to fall over. All right, well, when you drive T-posts in Texas, you're going to know it. Not everywhere in Texas, but right here, we have black dirt. Black dirt gets hard. You won't be going to the gym tonight, I guarantee it.